Alright guys, welcome to Tales from the 90s. This time we are going back for our first ever trip through 1995. March to be exact. I was 11 years old then. Nearing the end of the school year, I was in 5th grade, so let me take you back to our first trip back to 1995.
Wars and morning yawns. Play kickball in the street. Man, those days can't be beat. Tales from the 90s never die.
Yeah, guys, as you've seen this podcast or listened to this podcast before, we jump around in time. I'm going through month by month through the 90s. But I don't want to do it in linear order because that would get kind of boring, and some of the things I'd be talking about like constantly over and over again. But yeah, like I said, full disclosure, I randomly choose which I go to. I don't ever pick a specific date for a specific reason or try to match what month I'm recording it in. So this time we're going March 1995. This is actually my first time in March through the history too. But from the top, I want to give a shout out to my brother Josh's stepson, Caden. He wanted to get a shout out on this. He's an awesome kid, by the way. I met him and his mom and their family. This is the first time I'd met them because my brother Josh lives in Oklahoma, and I hardly ever can get to my mom's to see her. And we all got together for my mom's birthday, July 4th. Such a fun time. I brought karaoke stuff. And this kid, Caden, he is awesome. I thought I was like king of the karaoke. He blew me away. He was getting after it up there too. Like he went all in on this stuff. He was really good. I got some of the videos. I'm gonna have to send him his mom. But yeah, just a cool kid. And a shout out to you. Hopefully, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have like the 90s were 9 million years ago to you, but. Josh will can tell you some stories I probably don't even tell on here. But yeah, this is just my fun way. I've seen one negative comment. It's like, what was it? Nostalgia is a curse or something. Like, yeah, I get, and yeah, I've been guilty in the past of thinking more in the past. You know, I'm not literally looking back at the past and rose-colored glasses because. I know there was a lot of problems then. I'm not saying the 90s times were better. As every decade gets, the times before were better. Kids growing up now would, 20-year-olds now would probably say, that the time they grew up in was better than the time now. It's just the way things are. But I don't ever look back and I know I got a whole podcast and a whole thing based on going back to the 90s, but I really do enjoy the time we're living now. Full disclosure, I've already recorded our commercial watch-along portion of the show, and I was mentioning a little bit in that how that today, like, just the different flavors of Pops that come out, and the different flavors. I mean, look at all the flavors, the Lay's flavors of chips, and the different things they're having at restaurants. Like, I went to been looking for this forever. The Greater Skyline ice cream combo. Couldn't find it at the store here. Finally, had to go to Louisville, so we went out to eat. Of course, I went to Skyline and found the ice cream. By the way, the ice cream is amazing. When you first eat it, it tastes like almost a combination of like pumpkin pie and carrot cake. And I gave my wife a bite and she liked it. But the thing is, she hates Skyline. I love Skyline. So at the very end, like at the aftertaste, you get like, I can't explain it. Like, you're probably listening to this thinking, how is chili and ice cream, how could that be anything appetizing? I can't explain it, but at the end of the bite, when you're done, you taste the Skyline, but it don't taste like you just ate ice cream. It's so strange, but it's like amazing. Anyway, once the aftertaste hit her, she was ready to throw up almost. She does not like Skyline. Yeah, I'll talk about that more on another episode when I go in more into like Cincinnati specific restaurants. I know I've talked a lot about restaurants I've been to a lot, and most of them were fast food places. But anyway, back to what I was saying. You know, the flavor combinations and different things that they have today completely blows away the 90s. What did they have in the 90s? Like, they ventured so far as to get Code Red and Mountain Dew, which, ironically, is what I'm drinking today. I'll be addressing this soon. If you can see it on there, I don't know if it's too high. But, yeah, so I am aware that there are, I mean, obviously the internet. I wouldn't be able to do this podcast back in the 90s. If I was, if I grew up in the 70s or something, and I wanted to do Tales from the 70s, I wouldn't be where would I post it? You couldn't post stuff back then. Even if you had the basic internet that they had then, you might be able to post a few videos, but not like you're going to get many people to even find them to watch them. The most you could do is make a TV show out of it, and then you got to have money. But anyway, yeah, so I don't look back at this, it's just something I do for people that want to relive the time. But I've been accused many times of living too much in the past, and sorry I'm taking too much time in this intro. But I do enjoy today. I mean, the music is a different story. I won't even get into that right now. But I do enjoy today's time. It's just, it's fun to look back on the old days. I don't live in the 90s anymore. Some people accuse me of that. I can't live in the 90s anymore. We're too much of a social media world on everything. You almost can't freaking scratch your butt without logging in and going to this website for it. Anyway, hope you guys are enjoying some of the other stuff I'm putting out, like the video game content. I just put out my second Sonic video, playing through Sonic Adventure, playing it on PlayStation 3, but obviously Sega Dreamcast. And coming out Valentine's Day, February 14th, I think it's a Friday. Yeah, it is a Friday. My top 50 Nickelodeon shows of all time. And for this, I didn't limit it to just shows produced by Nickelodeon, but I included any of the shows that have ever aired on Nickelodeon. And I know some of those are like, shows that were elsewhere, but that's fine. I'm still going to include them anyway because I have fond memories of watching them on Nickelodeon. So, some of the stuff that was on there, like Garfield and Friends, that wasn't originally a Nickelodeon show, but it aired on there, so I'll be, reviewing that. Yeah, but so just anything can be on the list, from whether it's a Nicktoon, Nickelodeon original, or something that just aired on there that aired somewhere else. Just wanted to leave that there. But that's February 14th. Today is March of 1995, and we're going to start this week. We're going to be talking about some music. The Billboard Hot 100, of course, as the theme with them, a song that's on there forever, it seems. And I've never heard of this song. It's by Madonna. Of course, I've heard of her, but not a fan of her music. Obviously, it's called Take a Bow. Never heard of it. It was #1 the whole month, plus 2 weeks in April, plus 1 back in February. So it had a total of 7 weeks at #1. So I'm not dismissing the song. I just never heard of it, and don't anyway. But I mean, I'm sure there are some. I'm not talking crap about it. It's just not a personal choice. But of course, my favorite music, country music. I was listening to American Country Countdown. The #1 song to start the month, and was actually its second week at #1, was Wade Hayes, "Old Enough to Know Better." That was one of them good songs. The whole thing is old enough to know better, still too young to care. It's a fun song. Of course, I've been known to love the heartbreak songs over any others, but the fun songs are still good too. Speaking of the heartbreak song, next up to go to #1 is George Strait, "You Can't Make a Heart Love Somebody." Not one of his biggest hits, but still a #1. And I mean, the guy's had over 60 #1s, so trying to narrow it down to his biggest, you're obviously going to be left with some that aren't like his hugest, but still, I love that song anyway. Clay Walker had the next #1, and it was #1 for 2 weeks to close out the month. "This Woman and This Man." Man, he had a great voice and a great run. I got his greatest hits. So many great songs Clay Walker did, and that was one of them. they had the 37th annual Grammy Awards, which is kind of ironic because they just had the Grammy Awards last night. And I never really watched the Grammys anyway because their awards are just really strange. Like when they do the country awards, it's like they don't even listen to country. It's like they pick somebody that they think people like and they give them all the awards. Seriously, that's the way it seems like it's always been. The best album was Sheryl Crow's All I Want to Do. But I didn't put down every award on here, but I want to focus on the country awards, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Best Female Country Vocal Performance, Mary Chapin Carpenter, Shut Up and Kiss Me. Best Male Country Vocal Performance, Vince Gill, When Love Finds You. Now, if you know anything about country music, you're going to say if you listen to the category, it's Best Female Country Vocal, Best Male Country Vocal. So it's judging the vocal performance. And Vince Gill, you can't go wrong with it. His vocals are amazing. But Mary Chapin Carpenter, yeah, she had some great songs and was a good singer, but she's not a good vocalist. I mean, her voice is average at best, and I'm not trying to be mean. I do like her songs. But this was like the year they were like shoved up her, I guess. Because she had the best country album for Stones in the Road. And she performed on the show. But the best country song was I Swear by John Michael Montgomery. And it was a massive hit. But I really only think it went there is because he performed that night with All for One because they both did I Swear. And I really think that's the only reason it's on the list is because they did it. Because John Michael Montgomery doesn't seem like the type of person they would give a Grammy to. And that's nothing against him. He deserves a million awards. But he don't seem like the person that they would be. He's got a cowboy hat. That should take him out automatically. It's like the Grammys do not get country. I'm not trying to go on too much on today's stuff, but Beyonce won Country Album of the Year. And it's not because she's black or not because she's a woman or not because... It's because she's not country. But it really doesn't bother me that much because really in my head since 2010 there hasn't been country music, really. Outside of a few different songs, a few albums here and there. But as far as on the radio and stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's a little bit about the Grammys. I've never really liked them. I mean, I just included them on here because it happened this month. One other note, and I never listened to her music, but she had tons of fans. Too many, apparently. This was also the month, the last day of the month, March 31st, that the Latin pop sensation Selena was killed by I think it was her fan club, the person that ran her fan club. Yeah, obviously there's a movie, I think Jennifer Lopez was in it. Like I said, I'd never even heard of her until years later after she had died. That's how little I didn't listen to pop at all. I never listened to any of it. It wasn't like, ugh, I don't like this. I never even listened to it to know if I liked it. But yeah, that's obviously a sad day in music history, whether I knew her or not. That's, I don't know. I've never seen the movie. I probably will watch it at some point. I know my wife's seen it. She loves it, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, definitely a sad day in music. I'm going to move to wrestling now. I said last week that we're doing March. It might be WrestleMania. There was no WrestleMania this month. It was April 1st or 2nd. So whenever we get to April 95, I'll cover WrestleMania from 95. I think it was 11, yeah. 95 is not one of the better years in wrestling throughout history. It would definitely turn around, but 95 was definitely kind of the lower end. There was one pay-per-view this month, WCW Uncensored. It was March 19th from Tupelo, Mississippi. And this is their pay-per-view they were doing where everything is unsanctioned, even though a match ended in disqualification. But because everything's unsanctioned and uncensored and everything, no titles are on the line. This one was famous for the King of the Road match. Took place on a semi. They had like a cage thing up or something so they didn't fall out. But it was Blacktop Bully, which is Barry Darsow. Darsow? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But anyway, he defeated Dustin Rhodes in this match. And this match got them both fired because they were blading. And if you know anything about wrestling, you know what that is. I'm not going to go through that here. But you weren't supposed to bleed at all on WCW TV. And they were immediately fired after this match. course, Dustin Rhodes would then go on to be Gold Dust. So WCW letting talented wrestlers go again. But anyway, in the main event, Hulk Hogan defeated Big Van Vader in a leather strap match. So, and yeah, definitely not one of their better shows. Again, not one of the better years in wrestling. Some title changes to go through. An ECW, Too Cold Scorpio, one of my favorites of all time. He is so good. Defeated ECW World Television Champion Dean Malenko. Speaking of another one that was so good. Anyway, that happened on an episode of ECW Hardcore TV, March 18th. And the WCW US title was actually vacated. Big Van Vader was the champion, and they stripped him of the title on WCW Saturday Night, which was their big show then. This is a few months before Nitro debuted. So the WCW Saturday Night was their huge show. Anyway, he put Dave Sullivan in the hospital. If you remember Dave, Evad, as they called him, or he called himself. Anyway, they stripped him of the title, and then Sting would go on to win it in a tournament at the Great American Bash. That was like 3 months later. And then something sad to report in wrestling too. One of the guys that was, everywhere in the WWF in the mid '80s. I believe he faced Andre the Giant in WrestleMania 1, I think, in the Body Slam Challenge. Big John Studd died March 20th from lymphoma. He was only 47 years old. And he went on to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, I think, at WrestleMania 20, 2004. As far as video games, none were released this month that I have experience with. However, they did release what they called the Game Boy Play It Loud series. It was when they came out with all those cool-looking color Game Boys, and the clear one, which was real popular. Because before that, they had just the basic white Game Boy, that white, gray, whatever you want to call it, plastic. But then they started coming out with all the different. This was before Game Boy Color, I think. Or Game Boy Color. I can't remember if that was... Yeah, I think it was a little bit before Game Boy Color. If not, they were out at the same time. But anyway, they put out these colored versions. Josh had one. I can't remember. It might have been purple. Not the Game Boy Advance. We had that later on. But I think he had a regular Game Boy. That or a Game Boy Color. Anyway, they came out with the all kinds of different colors. And, of course, kids all wanted them. Even if they already had a Game Boy, they're like, I don't have this color. Like it did anything different. But sports, it's the rare month of March where there's no football or baseball. Football's ended a couple months before, and baseball spring training is going on. But March, obviously, March Madness. The only time of year I watch basketball of any form is college basketball during March Madness, and I only watch my teams, which is Ohio State or UC if they're in it, University of Cincinnati Bearcats, or Xavier Musketeers, which were right on the outskirts of Norwood almost, where their college was. So they were actually closest to me as a kid. But during this tournament, the UCLA Bruins defeated the Arkansas Razorbacks to win the national championship. And of course, the Final Four is a big thing in itself. The two other teams in that were Oklahoma State and North Carolina. And my team, my ultimate team, Ohio State, didn't make the tournament that year. UC, the Bearcats, they beat Temple in the first round, but then they got eliminated by Connecticut in the second. And then Xavier was in it, but they were eliminated in the first round by Georgetown. Yeah, so that's my... And I wasn't even watching it then. I do watch it now when my teams are in it, which really hasn't been, I don't think last year, and Ohio State or UC or Xavier made it, so I didn't watch it all last year. My wife's team's UK. I don't remember what they did last year far. Some baseball news, even though they were getting ready for the season, they awarded a franchise to Tampa Bay, which would become the Devil Rays, which are now known as the Rays. That was when they were still expanding, which wouldn't surprise me that they expand again. And Michael Jordan announces he's coming out of retirement for the first time. I think it was like he took 17 months off or something because, the thing is talked about his failed baseball career. I give him credit for trying it. He wanted to play baseball. It wasn't like he's like, oh, I'm too good for basketball. Publicity stunt. He really wanted to be a baseball player. It sucks it didn't work out for him, but he went back to the Chicago Bulls, and you see what happened there. And NASCAR, of course, they start up in February, so they were going. Terry Labonte won the Pontiac Excitement 400 from Richmond. Jeff Gordon won the Purolator 500, whatever that is, from Atlanta Motor Speedway. And this is actually the year that Jeff Gordon won his first championship. Of course, my all-time favorite driver. And then to round the month off, Sterling Marlin won the Trans-South Financial 400 from Darlington. Again, I wasn't watching NASCAR then. I started watching NASCAR about 2001. Which, by the way, if you're a NASCAR fan, I heard that on HBO Max, or Max as it's just called now, I feel stupid calling it Max. It's like saying somebody's name. I'll always call it HBO Max. But anyway, they're not showing the full races, but they're having where you can choose up to 4 drivers and watch the whole race through their car. Either through their car, or I don't know if it's through their car or just focused on their car. It's probably like through the windshield camera type thing. But I haven't watched NASCAR in a long time since Jeff Gordon retired. I might start watching just through different cameras. I don't know who any of the drivers are anymore. But we want to get into probably our most popular segment, our Saturday morning cartoon segment here. And we chose to go back to March 25th of 1995. This would have been the last Saturday in March. And see what we got here. A lot of this stuff I've talked about before. We're going to start with ABC, Sonic the Hedgehog. Classic cartoon there. Jaleel White, who played Urkel, obviously did Sonic's voice, which I didn't even know at the time. I found that out later on. I can hear it now that I listen to it, but then when if you didn't know, you wouldn't have known it was Urkel. Free Willy. I don't know if that was a show or a cartoon. Probably a cartoon, but I'd never seen it. 9 o'clock. Tales from the Crypt Keeper. Their season had ended, so this was a rerun, but still, I would have been watching it. Next is Reboot. Never heard of that. Then Bump in the Night. Never heard of that. Sounds like a horror type thing. Then at 10:30, Fudge. Don't know what Fudge is. Then we got an hour of the Bugs Bunny and Tweety Show. Which, of course, classic Looney Tunes. We move over to CBS, where this is the time before Disney owned ABC, so you would see Disney stuff on, any channel they could get it on. CBS had Disney's The Little Mermaid. I've never seen the series. Then at 8:30, Beethoven. I remember that. They had a Beethoven cartoon, where they had a cartoon made out of any movie that, like, more than 50 people saw, I swear. Ace Ventura had a cartoon, The Mask, Beetlejuice, the list goes on and on. And speaking of that, 9 o'clock, Disney's Aladdin. I did watch that series. That was a great series. And then 9:30, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1987. I recently just bought the whole collection of the original Turtles cartoons. Haven't even got to watch any of them yet, but I just can't wait to go back and just have fun reliving all that stuff. And then, as I talked about before, was also on Nickelodeon, Garfield and Friends. Then we've got Wildcats. I've never heard of that. Skeleton Warriors. Never heard of that one. Sounds like it could have been interesting. And then Beakman's World, which I never really watched Beakman's World. Then over at Fox, of course this is before the WB had a network, so they had the Animaniacs on Fox. And of course, that cartoon was insane. Then we had Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, because of course, by 95 Power Rangers were everywhere. And I was actually thinking about if anybody wanted to leave any comments, because I was thinking about this even before I knew Power Rangers, because I haven't looked at this list beforehand. Just like, who is your all-time favorite Power Ranger? Like the character, like the actual person, not the actor, but you know what I mean, like Jason, Tommy, Trini. Who's your favorite Power Ranger, and what is your favorite version of the Power Ranger? Like for mine's obviously Tommy. Tommy's my number one guy of all time. Yeah, very sad that the actor who played Tommy died, Jason David Frank. Yeah, very sad. But he was my all-time favorite, and probably my favorite character, like if you want to call it that, was the Green Ranger, the original Green Ranger, Tommy, obviously. Close second was the White Ranger, Tommy. I like the Green Ranger had the Dragon Zord dagger, and he would he would somehow make a flute sound come out of it, and Dragon Zord would come out of the ocean or sea or whatever that body of water was there. That was such an awesome visual. But then obviously the Green Power was originally evil. If you know anything about Power Rangers, he was actually an evil ranger by Rita, recruited, and then they turned him over to the good side. But he could only use his power sparingly because it was it was an evil power, so it was running out, I guess. And eventually he had to stop being the Green Ranger, and they were bringing in a White Ranger, and the Power Rangers were all pouting like, we don't want a new, because he was going to be their leader. It's like, we don't want a new guy, we want Tommy. And then he takes off his helmet as the White Ranger, and it's Tommy. But yeah, his little sword, not really a sword, it was like more like a dagger, kind of like the Green Rangers, was called Saba, and it was like he would talk, and then the White Tiger Zord would come out. Yeah, also your favorite version of the Power Rangers. Obviously there's the original ones. Then there's the second version where they came out with the Thunder Zords, like the Red Dragon Thunder Zord. And of course there's Turbo Rangers, Zeo Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, Rangers in Space, Just let me know some of your favorite Power Rangers memories. But back to this. Eek Extravaganza. Never seen that. Obviously, Eek the Cat. I never watched that either. The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Always watching that. That was one of those, we always watched when the Batman and Robin was on. And Spider-Man, I watched a little bit of it. I see The Tick is next. I never watched that. It seemed too stupid to me. X-Men, another one of those ones. I don't like any of the movies of today, but I love the X-Men cartoon. And then season finale of Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, the cartoon version, not the game show version on PBS that was better. The cartoon was okay, and then of course we get the classic NBC lineup, which I never watched. The more teenager friendly, I guess, lineup. Name Your Adventure, Saved by the Bell, The New Class. I never watched that. California Dreams, NBA Inside stuff. I'm sure a lot of you out there probably watching this have fond memories of those NBC shows. Just not me. I was 11 at this time, and I never even, when I was a teenager, never really watched the NBC stuff. They really stuck with their, I don't know how they did ratings wise compared to the Saturday morning cartoons, but they really stuck with the teen stuff. And then for TGIF, Family Matters was in season 6, so they were getting towards the end of their run. Boy Meets World was the second show on TGIF this month and year. They were in season 2. That was their first year of high school. They only had one episode this month for some reason. I don't know what was going on or if they had other stuff on. But anyway, it was the episode where they got a new school bully. Of course, Harley was the one on there originally. He got sent off to boarding school, and they brought Griffin, which wasn't as good of a character to me. Harley he might have been over the top, like the typical, like he looked like he came straight out of the 50s almost, from his hair to the way he bullied people. But I guess Griff was a more modern bully, but I don't know. Harley was always my favorite on there. Step by Step was in season 4. This was the season when Carol became pregnant, which is actually the season my wife's in now. A few, I don't know, 6 or 7 episodes ago, when I first started talking about Step by Step, I actually was, one of the episodes for that month was one that she literally just watched the night before. This is kind of funny how that happens. And then to round out TGIF, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I don't remember too much about it. I watched it, but I don't remember too much about it. So I would definitely like to go back and watch that whole series. But they were in their third season. Now for TV this week, besides the Saturday morning cartoons and TGIF, I wanted to talk about a channel that probably nobody that didn't listen to country in the 90s knows about, and that is TNN, known as the Nashville Network. Of course, they got bought out in like 2000 or late 90s or something, became TNN, the National Network, then Spike TV, and then I don't even know what they are now, if they even have a thing. But anyway, this was the country music channel. They would show the Grand Ole Opry on Saturday nights, which was always appointment viewing if I had cable. Had to watch the Grand Ole Opry. I talked a little bit before about the line dancing shows, where they just have an hour twice a day at like the Wild Horse Saloon, I think was the name of the place in Nashville, where they would play the top country songs of the day and a few classics in there, and people would be line dancing. You just watch them line dance. I mean, I obviously watched it more to listen to the music. But, of course, I watched the dancing. I never even attempted line dancing. That would be horrible to see. But then they would have concerts on there. Some really great memories of those. They had two I remember in particular were I can't remember the titles of the shows, but they would preview their album that was coming out. The one I remember the most is Randy Travis's, when his very first album came out, Storms of Life. Like, I remember these two episodes I'm talking about in particular. I remember because they were taped by my dad. I always had these. I wish I still had them, the tapes of all these concerts. But yeah, Randy Travis, when he was first coming out, I think he had his first song out, and I think it went to #1 or was rising up the charts. But I mean, he would go on to superstardom. And then the second one is someone that's not as well known these days, is Billy Joe Royal, or as my brother Josh calls him, Billy Joe Ramble. He had a huge hit in the 60s, Down in the Boondocks. But he had, in the 80s, he had started doing country music. Well, I think he started doing it before then, but he had a resurgence and a comeback. And he did a concert, and I can't find that one online. I can find the Randy Travis one, but I can't find the Billy Joe Royal one. I almost called him Billy Joe Ramble there. I can't remember the name of the series right now. But another one they had was like a talk show. It was called Nashville Now. It was hosted by Ralph Emery, a legendary radio personality. And they would have interviews with singers, and they would have performances and comedy acts. Just a lot of good stuff on there. And of course, you would always see on TNN the fishing shows. There would be thousands of fishing shows, which I never really watched. But yeah, they eventually got ECW, and then once WWE, I don't know, they couldn't come up with a deal with USA or something. The first time they went to TNN and they kicked ECW off and kind of screwed them over. But that was when they were becoming when they became the National Network, I should say. And then of course Spike TV. But yeah, there's CMT's obviously the most well-known country music channel. GAC is another one, Great American Country. But TNN was the original. Will you shut up? We can't watch TNN anymore. They're mad too. But we'll talk about movies now. I actually have all 4 movies on this list that came out. Well, no, actually, take that back. I was wrong. I've got 4 DVDs over here that I'll show you, but 2 of them are the same. The last one on the list I don't have. The first one I have in this collection here is Dolores Claiborne. And briefly in the collection, Dreamcatcher. They're all Stephen King, by the way. Dreamcatcher, a weird alien one. Cat's Eye, one of my favorites. It's sort of like a Tales from the Crypt. It's an anthology movie. I believe I might have talked about it before. And obviously, the ultimate Stephen King, George Romero anthology movie that they both said they were influenced by Tales from the Crypt was Creepshow. Which, by the way, I have special editions of Creepshow. I have like 3 or 4 Creepshows of just Creepshow 1. But Dolores Claiborne is a Stephen King movie starring Kathy Bates. Which you think Stephen King and Kathy Bates, you automatically think of Misery. But this was the second one that she did. It's basically like a murder mystery type thing where, she fell down the steps and they're accusing her of pushing her, saying she didn't want to take care of her, when really the woman wanted to die. But anyway, the guy that was investigating her had dealt with her like 30 years before when when her husband mysteriously came up missing, which she actually set a trap for him to die. I don't want to give too much of the movie away, but he was abusive to their daughter, and you can figure out in what way. And it's not your typical Stephen King movie. There's no monsters, there's no supernatural anything in it. It is just it really shows that Stephen King can write something that has no supernatural whatsoever in it. But Dolores Claiborne, if you haven't seen that, you've got to watch that movie. If you're not a horror fan, don't let the Stephen King name throw you off. And if you are a horror fan and you're going into it thinking, the clown's going to come out of the sewer, don't think about that. But the next one is Major Payne, Damon Wayans. This movie is freaking hilarious. It's a comedy, obviously, starring Damon Wayans. He's Major Payne. I think it's Winifred B. Payne or something. He says so proudly. Anyway, he's in the army, and they basically have nothing else for him to do because he literally says, "I done killed everybody." So he goes to work for this military school, and he's treating it like it's like the Marines or something, like grown men, and they're trying to get in shape for these military games. And then he falls in love with this woman. I can't remember her name, but she played Hillary on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He falls in love with her, but he's still acting like a jackass. And, "You little turd." There's so many quotables from that one too. Great movie. And then I've actually got two versions of Tommy Boy here. Chris Farley and David Spade. The first one I'd had before, but then I found this is the Holy Shnikey edition, which is actually, you got the movie and then you've got a whole disc full of special features. Which, if you know me, I love DVD special features. I love commentaries. If I've watched the movie before, I'll go back and watch it with the commentary on, because you get all the production notes and all the little behind the scenes stuff. But anyway, this is the first of two movies starring Chris Farley and David Spade. The second one was Black Sheep. I love that one too. It's not as popular, don't get talked about as much. But I mean, this one is Tommy Boy's classic. It's about Chris Farley's character, Tommy Callahan, and he's like a screw up. He has to go to work for his dad, Big Tom Callahan. They sell brake parts in Ohio, brakes and brake pads and stuff. Anyway, his dad ends up getting married to this woman who ends up poisoning him and kills him. He dies of a heart attack. And she has a son, but it turns out it's not actually her son, it's her boyfriend. They're running this scam, obviously, to get the money. And all the money, the guy's fortune, whatever he had left, was left to Tommy Boy. But the company was left, I believe, there was some deal where she would end up getting the company if they sold it. And without Big Tom there to sell the brakes and stuff, there would be no reason to keep the company. So they're going to sell this guy Zelensky in Detroit. But anyway, Tommy Boy and can't remember David Spade's character, Richard. They go throughout the country trying to sell the brakes, and this movie is just insane. It's so insane. I love that movie so much. Like I said, I love Black Sheep too. It's got those two in it, different characters, but it just doesn't get talked about as much. It's not as quotable, and Tommy Boy is the better movie, so that's probably why. And then the last one is The Mangler, which is based on another Stephen King. This is a Stephen King short story. It's about the Blue Ribbon Laundry Company, which he's used that company in several of his books and short stories. But it's about this old giant washing machine, and it becomes like possessed basically by the devil or something. I can't remember exactly, but it like literally eats people. And it wasn't one of the best movies as far as like, definitely didn't make a lot of money, and isn't popular. But I love The Mangler for what it is. It's just it has Robert Englund, obviously Freddy, but playing the evil guy that runs the factory, and he is so creepy and scary in this. Like, somehow he's more scary than Freddy to me. because there's no funniness at all about him. He's just complete pure evil, and just, you know, the movie's insane. They've had all kinds of 2 or 3 sequels, I think. I don't know if I've ever even seen them. I think one of them was it was called The Mangler, but it was about a computer system or something. I had to go a little too crazy there in the late 90s with computers. But yeah, 4 movies that came out that I really love in that month. That don't often happen. Sometimes there's a month where the movie comes out and I don't even know anything about the movies. But this is a good month for movies, apparently. I never seen any of these in theater. I wish I would have. Seen them all on tape originally. Well, actually, The Mangler I think I seen on HBO first. But anyway, like I said, this is 5th grade for me. This is the first time I think I've talked about 5th grade. Won't go through like the whole year, just some quick memories. I remember at the end of the year we had a graduation ceremony. It was at like 6 o'clock at night or something. It was like the last few weeks of school. We still had a couple weeks left, but you know how they do that. But we had our graduating from, I can't remember if I just said 6th grade. I think I said 5th grade. Anyway, we were graduating to 6th grade, where we would be going to the middle school, which is like kind of like a mile away from where the elementary school is, maybe a little bit less, depending on which way you walked. But I was in Norwood View at the time, and I remember this graduation because we had to sing a song, and afterwards Marky Foe took us out to the bar. Just another excuse for him to get drunk and us to sit there and play video games till he felt like going home. Any reason to drink for him. But one of the things I remember the most about 5th grade is we actually built this tree house in a classroom. I can't remember my 5th grade teacher's name, but I think it was Miss Cottrell, I think. But her husband was, I don't know if he worked like building things professionally or is just really good at it, but we actually built this tree house. It had steps to go up, and it wasn't an actual tree house, and it was in the classroom. It was made to look like a tree, and it had steps. It was just a little nook you could go, and it was like everybody got to use it, but the ones that did better in class and, you know, did extra credit or was doing good and the teacher noticed it, you would get to go sit up there, you know, for a period and just read. We would have this thing in school anyway. I can't remember. It had a title, but it was one day a year when we would just spend the day reading. You could bring like a blanket and a sleeping bag and lay on the floor, or you could sit on your desk, but it would just be a day of reading. You could sit out in the hall even. I don't know if they still do that, or I remember it had a name, but I can't remember it. But anyway, this was a pretty cool thing that we all pitched in on building, and I don't know, hopefully it still stands there in school. Obviously probably not the same teachers or anything, but hopefully this, if any of you for some reason have been to Norwood View Elementary in the last couple of years or something, in 5th grade, who knows if they've even changed where the grade layouts. Anyway, if you know the treehouse or what I'm talking about, or any knowledge of it, comment. I'd love to know if that thing's still standing. I hope it is, because that was a pretty cool thing that we all kind of collaborated on. But yeah, just a lot of memories from that year. Of course, no buses, so we always walked to school. And I think by the 5th, yeah, Josh was going to start at school. I think he was in, I don't know if it was kindergarten or 1st or 2nd. Wait a minute, he's 5 years behind me, so yeah, he probably was in kindergarten then. Kindergarten or 1st, depending on. He's always depending on when you're the month you were born in, as you know, when you start school. Some people would start school a little bit later, some a little bit earlier. It just depended. But yeah, we would walk to school, and there was always, you know, go past UDF. This one store across from one of Marky Foe's favorite bars, they sold these chips, Corky's barbecue chips. He would get us for them all the time. We ended up like hating them because we had them so much. But if I could find them today, if they even exist, Corky's barbecue chips, let me know if I can find them somewhere, because I want to eat them again. You know, they were just basic barbecue chips, and he like bought them all the time, but we got tired of them. Anyway, just it wasn't too long of a walk to school. The middle school and high school, the mile walks later would be long. And I wouldn't be able to do them today, obviously. But, yeah, just 5th grade, getting ready for 6th grade, we thought we were ready. I was scared to death to go to the orientation the day before 6th grade. I'll probably talk about that when I talk more about the end of 95, because we started school in September. But I'll get into more of that later. But right now we want to go to our commercials watch-along segment. This is from March 12th, 1995. It's on WTTG, which I'm not familiar with. I had to look up. It's a Fox station in Washington, D.C., the local Fox channel there. This was during an episode of Perry Mason. I never watched that show, but the commercials, about an 8-9 minute long commercial video, and the quality would be kind of blurry because of the room recorded on VHS, but that's fine. But let's go to that now. Alright, once again, I want to apologize, I guess, for the quality of these videos. Obviously, they're recorded on the VHS, so, a lot of people, oh, it's bad camera quality, or bad video quality. I don't know. I like something about it's the nostalgia that makes me really love the quality on there. I mean, obviously, DVDs better quality and, streaming and all that, but just something about a self-recorded VHS tape. Anyway, let's get to these commercials.
January.
The heck?
You're blind. March. You can see again, but you can't walk. August.
Okay.
You can walk again, but you can't hold your child.
What is this?
December, your hands are working, so you pray. Multiple sclerosis randomly attacks your nervous system. Help us.
Okay, it's one of those PSAs that they always had in the 90s. That was scary.
People with MS can count on.
That would scare me if I found out I had MS and seen that commercial. 10 calorie cookie. Yeah, I want more ice cream than that.
Or an entire dessert that's only 10 calories and naturally fat-free. Delicious sugar-free Jell-O gelatin.
Oh, Bill Cosby ain't on this one.
Jell-O gelatin snacks at only 10 calories per serving and fat.
Can't go wrong with Jell-O.
A whole luscious snack.
They got a Jolly Rancher watermelon Jell-O that is so good.
Dessert is back.
That's something these days they have that they didn't used to have. Is the amazing plethora of flavors and flavor combinations.
This is 100% pure. This tastes fresh.
Good old orange juice.
You can either squeeze
Simply Orange is the best though. Once I had orange juice without pulp, I can't go back to the regular.
Not from concentrate. It has
That Simply Orange is expensive, but it's good.
Oranges it comes from. Florida Gold Premium Select. It's the real stuff.
A current affair.
Thrown off the bench for abusing her power by setting her lover free.
And it shouldn't cost me my job.
Now she vows if she can't return to
Shouldn't
her
cost you
home,
your
she'll
job
look
if
for
you
her
let
son as
your
county sheriff.
personal feelings let somebody go when they could have been guilty. Yeah, okay. Corruption's always been there, not just these days. That's not good timing with those recent plane crashes we've had.
Handy Snacks presents Cheese Boy.
I remember Kraft Handy Snacks. Cheese and breadsticks. Just like Lunchables, hardly ever got these things.
Because they're fun. Moms
They're like
love Handy
way
Snacks 'cause
overpriced
they're
for a tiny bit of stuff, and it's just a
from Kraft.
plain
Handy Snacks. You can't imagine a better snack.
cracker, basically, dipped in some plain cheese. Red Lobster, never been there. It was my mom's favorite restaurant.
Crab and shrimp.
They are so overpriced.
Wait till they taste this. Your chance to indulge in
I don't like seafood at all, so of course I never want to go here.
Shrimp scampi.
I mean, if my wife wants to go there, I'll take her, but
Fried shrimp and a half pound of sweet Alaskan snow crab. All your
Cannot
favorites
stand
on one
seafood.
plate. It's the ultimate feast.
But only during March at Red Lobster.
they didn't give a price. I was hoping they would.
How do people
Whatever
like
that was, it
great
cut off.
cereal? Let them count the days.
Great grain cereal, I remember that.
Sweet.
Some things that you'll see even today, a commercial will start and then immediately stop and go to the other one. I think it has something to do with go from a national satellite feed to a local one, or local to national, however that goes. Sometimes you see a commercial start and then just get cut off with a different one.
In one great crunch, great grains.
Never really liked Great Grains. Of course, I was always into the classic cereals.
Sending an international fax.
That's what I should talk about one time, is some cereals.
What could happen to it along its way? Unless, of course, you send it with AT&T. Only AT&T has a unique service that goes along with every international fax your business sends. It's a service that.
Boy, look at this high-tech technology. Fax machine.
No, it's not the line. It's their fax machine.
So your fax will get there, guaranteed.
This was literally like
for the life of your business.
Game-changing at the time. A fax machine.
Hi, honey. Gather up the dependents. I'm starved.
The what? Have you finished the taxes yet?
Of course.
Obviously a parody on like I Love Lucy era shows.
Number starts with 233. You haven't mailed the taxes yet, have you?
Be accurate. Just one wrong name or social security number could delay your U.S. income tax refund.
And they'll audit you, and it won't be like an episode of I Love Lucy. It'll be like an episode of whatever the freak prison show.
If you love pasta, delicious Italian pasta.
Olive Garden. I've never been there.
And now for a short time, you can create your own pasta pairs for just $7.95. Choose 2 from 6 deliciously prepared pastas.
Yeah, I've never been there. I always heard about their unlimited soup and salad.
Enjoy breadsticks to your heart's
Just never had
desire.
a chance to go there.
Soup or salad. Create your own pasta pairs for $7.95.
I will someday.
It's heaven for pasta lovers.
I'm not like the hugest pasta lover. You know, I don't mind it, but I'm not like. Some people go nuts over pasta.
Watching than ever before.
Fox Morning News.
Obviously, this is a local commercial for. This is Washington, D.C.
Fox Morning News.
Our Fox was Fox 19 in Cincinnati.
Which morning show do more Washingtonians turn on than CBS this
WXIX. Of course, XIX 19.
Looks like we're not just waking up Washington. We're waking up the competition.
Fox Morning News.
So many good memories of our local channels.
To make it in this hospital, interns need more than
What is
skill.
this?
What you've had to eat in the past 24 hours.
That's a tough question.
Don't think I've seen this show.
No one ever
Whatever it is.
talk about death.
More than compassion.
Thank you.
They need a sense of humor.
Doctor,
What?
we segregate the thermometers. Blue oral, red rectal.
Introducing Medicine Ball.
Nice gown.
Never heard of this in my life.
That goes in the back.
Premieres Monday on Fox.
Probably didn't last long. Even shows I didn't like, I've heard of. Bacos, I can't stand the fake bacon bits.
But you're still not getting
They
mad.
taste like burnt rubber.
Makes every bite better.
Like I regular bacon, but not Bacos are gross.
Crunchy popcorn caressed with caramel topped with scrumptious chocolatey drizzle.
I remember this. I don't think I've ever had it.
New Pop Secret Popcorn
Huh.
Crunch. Sounds good.
No, I've never heard of that. I was thinking of something else. They didn't last, obviously. Now they got the bags of popcorn with like chocolate and all kinds of different stuff on them.
Fathers and mothers give hundreds of thousands of children asthma and other serious respiratory conditions simply by doing this.
The scary music.
Call for more information.
Hey, they're 100% right
Because
though.
if you smoke, so does everyone around you.
100% right on that one. But the scary music got me there. Must be Honey Nut Cheerios. I ain't had them in forever. It's almost like you're cheating. Like it's like you get a wholesome cereal, but you're still getting sugar. It's like a compromise, I guess, for parents that wanted their kids to eat healthy, but didn't want like the Fruit Loops or the Tricks or Lucky Charms. There's so many creative Honey Nut Cheerio commercials.
You might be surprised, but most medical malpractice cases aren't just about money. I'm Roger Greenberg, and my law firm, Greenberg & Betterman, helps people who've been injured by the carelessness of others. And
There are always
sometimes
lawyer commercials on the,
malpractice,
especially
who feel
daytime
send a
local
message to
channels.
one doctor or hospital that they shouldn't ever hurt anybody like that again.
And that one I always heard,
About medical malpractice, call
it
us
was
at
near the 2000, but
301-899-9999.
J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now, 877 cash now. Those commercials are hilarious. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed these commercials. It was a lot of good memories in those commercials. The scary music and the PSAs always got me. But One last thing I want to talk about. I want to address this. Hey Coke, bring back Surge. If you don't know what Surge is, it is a pop that came out in the 90s that we were all freaking obsessed with. It was loaded with so much caffeine. It makes Mountain Dew look like, I don't know, water. It was so caffeinated and sugary. Like, we went nuts with this stuff, and if we only known then that it wasn't going to be around for as long as we did, we would drink nothing but Surge. You know, back then we drank a little bit of everything. You know, didn't know that we would have a time without Surge, or I would have drank nothing but that. I probably would have been dead by now. That's another. But anyway, they brought Surge back a few years ago. First on Amazon, the 16-ounce cans. I don't know where that's at. I'm gonna have to find that. I have a Surge can somewhere I kept from that time. I didn't buy them off Amazon because they were really expensive, but they did a limited run. They're owned by Coke, by the way. They did a limited run where they released them in like gas stations and stuff. And whenever I'd find them, I'd buy up all the ones I could get. I mean, sorry to people that were looking for them. It seems like I'm looking for everything. Like that, the Skyline ice cream I spent forever looking for. But anyway, they only brought them back for a limited time. And the demand was so high for them. I don't understand why you won't bring them back, Coke. Is it really that difficult of a thing? Is it because you don't want to take away special shelf space from your other drinks? A lot of what Coke's been doing the last couple years has been crap. They're weird freaking... The one flavor is supposed to taste like the Galaxy, and one's supposed to taste like a computer part, or I don't even know. The stuff was nasty. The explanations for it made no sense at all. Doing all that when you could just bring back Coke. Or bring a Coke. Yeah, that'll be gone next for who knows what. Sand flavor. But bring back freaking Surge, please. The last I seen of it was they had in Burger King fountain drinks, but they didn't have it in ours here. I had to go to Columbus, Indiana, which is 50 miles away, just to get that. But bring back Surge, people. I have a funny story when it comes to Surge, and then we'll be done. I know I've been talking forever. Back in... it's actually not a funny circumstance. Marky Foe's dad died. I'm not making fun of that or anything. You know, we always called him Juice Chewer because he would like literally chew his orange juice, and it didn't have any pulp in it. It was just, I don't know. We always called him Juice Chewer. But like I said, I'm not making fun of him dying. But they served Surge at this funeral. Now this, like, I'm not exaggerating. I don't know exactly how much caffeine and how much sugar went into these things, but it was massive amounts. So we were literally running everywhere. I remember 2 or 3 times, me in particular, ran into the coffin, and like, I guess everybody else was just like, you know, worried about their grief. They weren't paying attention to us, but they had it, as I call it, the death party. You know, the little room where they have food and drinks and stuff. Well, they had Surge in this. And oh my God, we were all going nuts, running around outside, screaming, running up and down the stairs. I think at one point, one of my brother, well, it had to have been Josh. Travis would have, well, Travis could have been, he would have been 3 or 4 around this time, I think. But it was them or maybe one of Marky Foe's brother's kids. One of them walked into another room where there was like a dead body just like laying out on the table. I'm not even making that up. I seen it through the doorway. And we all took off running. Ah, he's going to get us. But yeah, Surge at the funeral, not a good idea. Surge in the store is a good idea. By the way, they ever bring Surge back and I have a funeral? Or is my wife's going to do a thing at the park because she's cheap? No, I'm kidding. I don't want a big funeral thing that's going to cost $1 million. By then, hopefully, if I'm dead next week, it'll cost $100,000. Anyway, I want Surge at my funeral somehow. Just, I don't know. Mountain Dew's about the only equivalent we have these days. Pour some energy drinks into Mountain Dew and pour a bag of sugar in there. Mix it up. Let the kids go crazy. But yeah. Surge at the funeral. But seriously, Coke, bring it back. There's no reason not to. There's definitely been a high demand. I can't remember where it is. It's somewhere in Europe. They have one, not a knockoff, but it's officially a licensed Surge. It's the same recipe, I think, and it's called Urge. For some reason, they call it Urge instead of Surge. And they actually have a cherry version, which they had a cherry version of Surge in the 90s. I just never got a chance to try it. I imagine that would be amazing. But yeah, bring it back. Sorry, this one's been a bit rambly, especially during the intro. I think I talked more then than the whole show. But our next episode sees us take our second trip back to 1992. This time we're going to October. I think this is the first time we've been in October. Maybe I'll do some Halloween trivia in there somewhere. I don't know exactly. I always think of ideas off the top of my head and try to implement them in the podcast. But at this time I was 8 years old, and we were in third grade had just started. This was very shortly after meeting the great Marky Foe. Still living in Mount Carmel. This is right before, a couple months before we moved to Norwood. But yeah, that's where we'll be going next week for episode number 18. We'll be going back to October 1992. And we will see you then.
Tales from the 90s never die. In our hearts they testify. VCRs and mixtape spins, where every tale begins. Tales from the crypt, marathon.